Hello, my name is Laura Jarvis and we are at Rainbow Gardens Nursery. We are going to talk a little bit about African violets today. Hopefully we'll learn something, and I have something here that a lot of people don't know about, and I can't wait to talk about these. So before I get started, do we have any questions? Or
why do African violets need to be in a special pot?
aha! I guess we're going to find out straight away why these are so special. Okay, so I want to, we'll hop right in here, just go full force. So this little African violet is got some problems. He's got a broken leaf and he's got dirt on his leaves. So if I just stick this under a faucet and I just water it and I don't pay attention to my temperature range, if the water's too cold or sits on these leaves too long, it is going to spot my leaves really, really bad. Thus, the African violet reservoir pot was invented. So that way I will keep my leaves all nice and healthy. I won't have any brown spots or patches. African violet leaves are real fuzzy, if nobody noticed. And just like with this one, the dirt and stuff will stick to the leaves because they're so fuzzy. So there are a few other plants in the plant world that are fuzzy, and they will do the same thing. The water will spot those leaves. So this is the coolest thing invented. I love these pots. They make it so easy for people. Now, if you ever tried to just water this thing, look at the leaves and stuff. So the leaves are somewhat brittle. There's not a lot of give to African violet leaves. So if I'm trying to move this to get my water down inside there, I may break some of the leaves off. But if I have this super cool reservoir pot, then I don't ever have to worry about it. So the African violet is actually planted right into that center pot. It's the center of these that is the neat thing. This is porous. There's such a thing called an olla pot, if anybody has ever heard about those. And those are sunk outside and they're porous clay. And all you do is pour the water in the top of an olla pot and it saturates the ground around and waters things so it conserves water. These are cool. Not only do they keep the water off of my fuzzy foliage, it also drinks the amount of water that the plant wants when it wants it. If it's not thirsty, the plant doesn't drink. If the plant is thirsty, it drinks. So it always has the exact amount of water that it wants, and it never gets spots on its leaves. This one I like better than the other ones because this one actually has a hole. And for people like me, it's really easy. I can just grab my little water can and I can just put it right in there and I can see how much water is in my reservoir. So it makes it super easy. I never have to move it, touch it, look at it. With these, some of them have holes in the sides of the pot where you can do the same thing. You can see other ones like maybe this one, I don't think it has a hole. You just lift that up and see how much water is in the bottom of my reservoir. I have another question that before it's even asked, I'm going to answer this question. Laura, how do you fertilize these things? Good question. Okay, so the way I fertilize these is my liquid fertilizer or my powder fertilizer goes right into the water and is mixed in, so it's liquid. So all I have to do is water my fertilizer into my reservoir, and my African violet gets the fertilizer. So it's fairly easy. I can do that per the label again. I always want to read my directions and do the amount that the label says, and then just run that water right in that reservoir. And so super, super, super easy. So I got another really cool thing about African violets. If you guys are totally into African violets, there's something else that you have to know about them. They are so neat because I can take one of these. I'm just going to take this one because this guy's got problems already. So the leaves are very turgid. They are very, they don't move. They are not pliable at all. So when we're taking a leaf off and cleaning it up, we can follow the leaf down to the main stem, and we can kind of pop it away with our finger, and that leaves you a whole leaf like this. Now, the cool thing about African violets is if you take this whole leaf, put a little bit of rooting hormone along this back stem right through here, and you plant this up to about there. This cute little leaf, it takes a long time, maybe a month, maybe more, but this cute little leaf is going to sprout another African violet right here at the base. So you can propagate your African violets and get more of them. So that is just a really neat thing to know. So another thing about African violets is they do best with super bright light or some sunshine. They are happy as campers if they're in a window where the sun actually comes in, as long as it's not hot sun to where it's going to fry. We like a really bright light. What's a bright light? A bright light is when you hold your hand, you get a shadow. If they don't want to bloom on a regular basis, they either the watering is off, the fertilizer is off, or the light. And it's almost always the light. If you've got them in a reservoir pot and you fertilize, you've already covered those two bases, so it's your light. So sometimes we just troubleshoot. It's elimination of why something isn't going to bloom. So again, if we're taking a leaf and cleaning this up, we take it all the way down to the stem and we pull, and it'll usually pop right off. That kind of cleans that up. There's not too many pests that get on African violets. Every once in a while I'll see aphids on them. You can rinse those off with warm water. Make your water out of your tap temperature that feels very comfortable. You don't want it too hot, and you definitely don't want it cold. So real lukewarm water, and you can wash these leaves. That's what I would wash this off with. Just put that under lukewarm water. The water isn't what spots them, it's the temperature range, and then sitting on there. So that'll clean those leaves. Sometimes we've had African violets for so long that there's dust on them. The leaves get kind of yucky looking, so you can do the same thing. Lukewarm water under the tap, and you can rinse those off, and that'll clean those leaves, and they will actually shine. They'll look real pretty. So African violets, there are way more colors, types, and varieties that I could ever imagine. There are speckled leaves, there's speckled blooms, there's single, there's double, there's partial where they're ruffled and halfway double. So a million different types of African violets to collect. So is there any other questions? Yes, sir.
Can you use those pods for other plants?
You can.
Like specifically maybe other epiphytes?
Yes, and so He's talking about maybe a plant that has an air root that receives moisture in through either the roots or the leaves itself. That's not the best choice. The choices that I would choose are the ones with the fuzzy leaves that you want to keep the water off of. There's a lot of different types of leaves that are similar, or plants that are similar with these types of leaves, the little fuzzy ones.
Begonias?
Some begonias, yes. And begonias are a good one because they like to be moist all the time. They don't really like a big fluctuation between dry and moist. They just like it kind of in between. I don't want to be wet. I don't want to be dry. Just give me right down the middle. That's a begonia. Okay, so calathea might be one. It kind of likes, don't let me get dry, don't let me get too wet. So ferns are great. Ferns love these things. You can get these little teeny ferns, put about 2 or 3 in here, like a little combo pot of it. And before you know it, it'll be huge, and then you can transplant it into something really, really ginormous and give it away to a friend, and they'll be real happy. So there's a lot of different plants that would like a little reservoir pot. It really works good if you've got something that's a little bit special and you want to go on vacation and you don't have a friend to come take care of it for you. A reservoir pot will take care of that for you.
So do you pot it with soil, or can
Yes.
you use other things like leca or
Most of the time we're going to do soil. Remember, if it's a reservoir, it's absorbing the moisture. So you have to have a certain amount of wicking going on, which pulls the moisture from the outside into that soil. If it's very chunky, if it's very barky, if there's too much air in that, it won't have that wicking or sponge effect to it. So a good soil, not hard packed, but slightly firm in there. I always kind of press my soil down so it's firm. That way you get that good wicking contact there. We have any more questions out there? Pretty simple, guys. This is African violets made easy.
101.